California. I grew up in Manteca since I was about 10 years old. I'm an activist. I now travel around to different cities speaking about racism, oppression, and the things that we're up against. So thank you guys for being here on this hot day. Everywhere I go, I like to speak to specific matters, especially when it comes to Black and brown, but more specifically my Black women. So I want to give a little bit of history as to why it is so relevant for us to still be here today speaking on these things. So history shows that Black women, the history of gynecology, they actually used our bodies as test dummies without 1, our knowledge, 2, our consent, 3, compensating or even caring that we're putting our bodies for future research. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Henrietta Lacks, but literally almost every cure, vaccination, gene mutation is because of a Black woman who was beautifully made and powerful in her genes, in her genetics, and in her makeup. So to this day, the reason why some of y'all are alive is because of a Black woman. Let's not ever forget that. And even though they used our bodies as test dummies, they still let us die at alarming rates in hospitals. During childbirth, we have to fight 10 times as hard just to receive the same medical care as others simply because we are Black, and then add on the fact that we are female. We have to fight 10 times harder to get x-rays, MRIs, our blood drawn, to get pregnancy tests, to get actual pain meds instead of just ibuprofen. There is a long-standing history of Black women being abused for the uptake of the white community, and we are tired of it. We've been talking about it. We've been fighting it. We've been kneeling on it, and now with this group of women here today, we're ready to say it's over. We're going to make some true change. We're going to do the work, like mentioned earlier before. And so this is why it's so important that people are in the crowds, in their cars, that don't look like me. Because half of y'all have never heard this truth before. Half of y'all don't know that medical textbooks speak to the fact that they believe that Black people don't feel pain. The reason why they got away with whipping us for so long is because they had it in their minds that we don't feel pain, or if we do, it's not at the same rate as them or others. So when we walk into that hospital saying I have a migraine, I need an MRI, we're not taken seriously. When we walk in there saying I feel pain in my side, I need an x-ray, we're not taken seriously. We don't get the same pain meds that y'all get. We don't even get the same attention that y'all get. We sit in emergency rooms for hours while we bleed out. If you haven't heard about it, go research it. It happens every day. A Black woman just died in NYC giving birth to her child. We cannot even bring our seeds into this earth without fear of not being here to raise them. And then our seed that now may be motherless, it's got a target on their back before the age of 9 months. This is deep-seated racism and oppression. It is in every system in America, and we need you to dismantle it. It ain't on us, it's on you. Now let's take it to our schools. Our children are being miseducated. Actually, I'm not even going to say miss, because that implies that there's somewhere that they're getting what they need, and that's just not the truth. They are being uneducated. They are being defunded at the very places that they go to learn and grow to become somebody, to be the next president. Our schools in our areas are being shut down, defunded. Our teachers are overworked and tired. They don't have support because they work in schools with little Black and brown children that nobody gives a damn about. They don't have textbooks. We got 30 kids in a classroom, but about 15 textbooks in some of these areas. I live and I do this every day in Oakland, California. And then I come to Manteca and I see the difference just between an hour. And it's not to say that this town is perfect, because shit goes down here too. But what it's to say is we have these siloed communities that are hurting, and nobody even recognizes that they're drowning. So how could I not come here today and speak to it? We are killing our children every day. We trust this education system that was not built for them. We are killing our children's brains, development, growth, social, emotional development, self-identity, and self-esteem. represent them, who don't even care to make sure the curriculum speaks to them, who doesn't even care to tell them the truth about their history and that they didn't start with being enslaved, they started as kings and queens. They have you out in nothing. They fail us every day. And when I say they, I mean the system that half of us here today benefit from, while the other half has been standing with no breath, feet on our necks for over 500 years. It happens all too often. Our black women are getting pulled over by police officers and not making it home. But like earlier mentioned, you don't see them in the headlines. You don't see the hashtags. You don't see the interviews of their families. We so easily forget about our black girls. Yes, our black men are hurting. Yes, they're seen as targets. But hey, so are we. The movement would not be the movement had it not been for black women like Rosa Parks and all other activists that stood behind her. MLK is wonderful, but he couldn't have done it without Coretta. It goes back to the beginning of time. We've been doing this. We've been standing in front of our men as shields every single day. Who is standing for us? Who is fighting for us? Who is willing to take a bullet, a baton, a bleed out in the hospital so that I can be further recognized? I need y'all to roll down your windows because I'm not done, but I need y'all to hear this and I need y'all to respond. Roll down your windows and say it as loud as you can. Black lives! Matter! Black lives! Matter! I don't hear y'all that well. Scream it loud. Let them hear the constraint in our voices. Let them hear the pain. Let them hear the history. My ancestors, the things that they went through is in my DNA. I have no choice but to every time I speak of their time, speak of their pain, speak of their blood that went running rampant through the streets while nobody cared. Black lives! Matter! Black lives! Matter! Black lives! Matter! No justice! No justice! No peace! Now, thank y'all. I spoke on policing, I spoke on our education. I just have a few more things to speak on. And it comes down to recognizing some of our own privileges when we interact with black women. Don't touch my hair. Don't ask me, what are you mixed with? Don't ask me, how do you shower? What kind of soap do you use? These are real life questions that I received inside of classrooms. When I was in the 5th grade and I first moved to Manteca, I had my teacher stand me up on the first day of school and say, we have a new student. She's black. She's from Oakland. Anyone have any questions? I got questions like, why do you talk like that? Have you ever ran from gunshots? Why does your hair look like that? Do you wash your hair? What type of soap do you use? How do you get your skin to look that dark? What do you use on it? Is it a certain lotion? Why do you wear Jordans? Why do you say auntie and not auntie? While my teacher, white male, sat back and thought that I was show and tell. He didn't even realize that his systemic racism was being perpetuated in a classroom. Somebody that I was relying on to build myself up so that I can go on and speak to y'all today. That wasn't happening in my classroom. I had, in the 6th grade, a younger boy, white male, walk up to me and call me a black nigger. I'd never been called that in my life. So I reacted. I beat him up. Guess who got in trouble? I did. Guess who got suspended? I did. Systemic racism flows through our schools like it is just the thing to be. It flows through the minds of our teachers like it is what's up. And nobody checks it. Everybody lets it go by because why? We don't see the same type of value in our black and brown girls and boys as we do our white boys and girls. Who is going to help me change that? If you're an educator and you're sitting out here, are you going to help me? Are you going to volunteer as tribute? Are you going to possibly lose your job so that we don't have to be here talking about this anymore? Because I'm tired. My voice cracks every time I tell this speech. It's annoying. You have no idea it is to understand that my kids don't matter. That I possibly could walk into a hospital bearing a child, go to give birth and not make it out. That's not okay. So don't ask me those questions. Don't ask me how I came to be and if I'm sure I'm just black. I'm black with big curly hair, with big broad lips, with a big nose, a big butt, wide hips, and I stand just as proud in it as I do a Christian, an educator, and an activist. Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! And lastly, I want to speak to something that I personally cannot relate to. And it doesn't matter if I relate to it, if I connect to it, if it represents me or not, because they're my people. And I'm gonna fight for my people whether we agree, disagree, I like you, don't like you, get along or not. That's the message I always want to share. We don't have to understand. We don't have to agree. We don't have to be on the same page. We don't have to like the same people. We don't have to look the same for you to say, I got you, I love you, I stand for you, I fight for you, I am your shield, and I will stand hand in hand to make sure your life is seen as valuable from here on out. So that our children, when they play together, they don't have to question, does my friend have my back if the police roll by? Are their parents going to understand that taking me into this neighborhood makes me feel uncomfortable? It's the little things sometimes. So what I want to speak to lastly is, I'm a straight, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong in any verbiage that I use. I'm a straight cisgendered female. Yes. Look at me. See? I do my research, y'all. All right, but I'm a straight cisgendered female, meaning that I like men and I connect with the parts that I was born with, but that's not the case for everybody, and that's okay. We should love them regardless of whether we even recognize what these things mean or not. And then we have a conversation and we say, hey, what does it mean? What should I be saying? How can I support you? How can I represent you and speak to your experiences even when you're not in the room? That's what's important, making connections. So I want us to unite to the point to where when we have these events, we no longer feel the need to use subcategories because we are so united and we so can't stand up for each other on every front and cause that when I say Black Lives Matter, it encompasses all of Black lives. I don't have to substitute and say, hey, by the way, trans lives matter. No, we're unified on one front so they know they matter when I speak to Black lives. We are siloed even within our own communities. We pick and choose what Black people we may want to stand behind, and I'm here to call an end for it. So when you see me speaking at any point in time, if I'm only referencing Black Lives Matter, it speaks to every single one of you. Your race, your religion, your gender, your sexuality, your height, your weight, your curls, your 4C to your 3A, it does not matter. Black Lives Matter encompasses all. Stop making us feel like we gotta pick and choose what part of us we want to stand for today. We can be all of those things in once and still be loved, still be cared for, still be beautiful, strong, vulnerable, amazing, talented, activists, sisters, brothers, cousins, nieces, moms, aunties. We can be all of who we are 100% of the time if we just continue to show love despite hate, lead with love despite anger, lead with love despite fear. We are already facing a system that was built to oppress, keep us down, keep us unable to breathe, keep us feeling locked up, caged in, and enraged with nowhere to place it. Stop placing that burden upon us. Stop placing your fear upon us. Stop projecting your hate, your ignorance upon us. Stop being complacent and only knowing what you know today. I'm always open for conversation. You can find me on Instagram at @QueenRennie_. You can find me on Facebook at Sharon Washington-Barnes. You can email me at Sean spelled SHAWN @gmail.com. You can call me Text me 510-753-9718. It doesn't matter the cause, doesn't matter the fight, doesn't matter how new to this you are, how old to this you are. If you call me, I'm here, and I expect and I would hope, and I'm gonna put the expectation out there, because that's how we hold each other accountable, that when the phone call reverses and I'm calling you to say I need some help, I don't want allies anymore, I want accomplices. I want somebody that's down to ride, down to die, down to go to jail. Because allies means that there's some form of mutual benefit. You shouldn't be benefiting from my life. Be my accomplice. Be my down and dirty. I got you whenever, however it's time. I'm here. Call me anytime. And I can never end anything that I speak on without telling this story. And I know this is about our women, but because I am a woman, the person who was most important and special to me, who uplifted me, and who made me the woman that I am today, is not here because of systemic racism. So I will never speak anywhere and not tell my brother's story. No shade to us ladies, you already know I got y'all. My brother was a 29-year-old black male who last year on April 26, 2019, checked himself into Kaiser Manteca. His chief complaints were coughing up blood and having trouble breathing. My brother sat in the emergency room with a 0.01 white blood cell count. And for anybody that does not know what that means he literally had no immune system. And not only that, his lungs were filling with blood. His doctors knew that he was septic upon arrival, yet they let him sit in an emergency room, not an ICU, with special care and gloves and masks to protect this man with no immune system. They left him in an emergency room for 8 hours with no care, no treatment, as his little sister and his pregnant girlfriend begged for him to receive care. My brother asked twice to be intubated because he could not breathe. Sean couldn't breathe, which seems to be a common theme in this country when it comes to our black men and women, even our children. We have literally been oppressed and have been the only ones fighting for oxygen for years. Sean couldn't breathe. They let him die that day because they cared more about his insurance status, whether he had AIDS, and the color of his skin, more than giving him proper medical treatment. My brother now has a almost 1-year-old daughter that he never got a chance to meet, will never hug and play with, will never take her to a father-daughter dance, will never practice her cheer routines with her, will never do her hair, never even got to name her, and her name is Shanice. So my brother's name is Sean Edward Washington. Her name is Shanice Eileen Washington. SEW continues, because she is his legacy. And if I don't speak to what happened to my brother, some of y'all will never know how easy we die in our medical facilities every day. Some of you will never know what the actual fight is that's up against us. Some of you probably don't even know the numbers of how often black women die in childbirth that's seen as a luxury to white women. If I don't speak to the fact that this black man was denied proper health care, for what? For no reason. Because his life was not seen as value. Because they assumed that he was a lowlife, that didn't have a job, that had a knocked up girlfriend, and could possibly be on AIDS. They took everything that was wrong with him and twisted it into a negative connotation, as if he was a bad person. The same symptoms they mistook him for AIDS were the same signs of sepsis in the body. But because they don't think we feel pain, because they think that we're habitual liars, because they think that we're ignorant, and because when we do speak up and act out, we're seen as angry, as uneducated, or security just plane comes out and pulls you out and now I can't even fight for his life. My brother died that day without his mother by his side because he was not supposed to die that day. We have doctors who lied. We have people who said that they couldn't find his insurance when his insurance was on file, but he was a black man, so they didn't even care to look. These things happen every day. It's very common. A lot of you may be shocked that I'm even speaking to this, but literally it happens every single day to people who look like me and who have looked like my brother. So the next time you walk into a medical facility and you're complaining of a headache and you see a woman who's complaining of the same thing, ask her, has she been seen yet? Ask the nurse, hey, has that lady been helped yet? That's how you become an accomplice. That's how you start to do the real work. That's how you stand up and use your body as a shield for me. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds strange. Why would I put somebody else's care before mine? But look, your life has always mattered. You have never had to question your life, not saying because of other situations, but you've never questioned it because of the color of your skin. You've never walked into a classroom and felt like your teacher might suspend you just because of the type of way you walked in that classroom today. You've never walked into a medical facility complaining of coughing up blood, not being able to breathe, and not receiving care. You've never had doctors plain out tell you that you're lying about the symptoms you're presenting them with. You've never had doctors tell you, oh no, you don't need that test. You're wrong. I've told my doctor I have a long-standing history of breast cancer in my family. I am 27, have yet to receive a mammogram. Why? Because my doctor will not order me one. I have had breast cancer on both sides of my family, from my paternal and maternal grandmother. How many of you guys have ever had to struggle getting a mammogram? Nobody. How many of you have ever struggled to get an x-ray when you complain of a headache? And honk if you have, because it's not to say that y'all don't deal with stuff. How many of you have walked into a hospital literally saying that you cannot breathe and not even get an oxygen mask? This is the type of shit that we go through every day with no apology, with no consequences, with no jail time, with no licenses taken away, with no cops going to jail, with no judges taking our sides. We literally have people that are sitting in jail for crimes that they didn't even commit, all while we got white men out here killing people at mass rates and getting taken for cigarettes and hamburgers. I know I've been talking for a minute, but y'all gonna hear this today. So the last thing I ask of y'all is a call to action. It's a call to action. If you see a black brother or sister that's been pull over with them. Wait until they make it home. Pull out your camera. If you see a black brother and sister in that hospital, go check on them. Demand that they be seen. If you see a kid in the classroom that looks like the teacher's not even bothered to give them the time of day, you go step in and you go volunteer in that classroom. And then you go find those school board members and you vote to make sure that they're putting in policies that get rid of these teachers. We must know who our school board members are. We must know who our city council members are. We must know who our city supervisors and city managers are. We must know who our mayor is. We must know who our chief of police is. We must know who our officers are. We must know who our community leaders are. We must know what organizations are in this town that are being progressive, and we must know the ones that aren't. We have to be fully aware of what is for us, against us, and with us. That is how we create change. Go speak at the board meeting. Go speak at City Hall. Tune in to my live meetings where I meet with city council members, school board members, police officers. Ask questions. Demand. Show up at their offices unannounced. Don't give them a call ahead of time. Don't make this convenient for them. Do whatever it takes by any means necessary. Do you know what that means? It don't mean being nice, politically correct, tippy-toeing around. It means by any means. If I have to yell, if I have to shout, if I have to walk through and make sure I make eye contact with every car in this crowd, by any means. If it means I grow tired, if it means my legs get weak, if it means I get dehydrated, if it means I get beat up, if it means I get ridiculed, hated, talked down to, berated, if it means I lose friends, if it means I lose family, I do not care by any means necessary. Black lives! Black lives! Black lives! Black lives! Y'all say this last message to yourself. Say, I will be changed. Repeat after me. I will be changed.
I will be changed.
I will be changed.
I will be changed.
Believe it when you say it. If you can tell yourself that you're going to be the change when you walk out of here or when you drive out of here, then you're holding yourself accountable. So say it again and say it with your chest. Say it proud. I will be the change.
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 No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Black lives. Black lives. Black lives. Thank y'all. God bless every single one of y'all for
We have another round of honks for Sharon, please. That was such a All right, I want to say thank you all again for coming out to this event. It means so much to me. And much like I'm going to close out the speeches.